2 Thursdays ago at 6:30 a.m., my wife Kay was in what we call around the family, she was in K mode. She was leaning over a patient, getting them ready for their procedure. She was threading an IV into his arm, intent on getting it in with the first stick, which she always does. And she was just taping it off successfully when the unit clerk came into the pre-op room and said, "Kay, you have a visitor in the waiting room." To that, my wife, ever in military mode, says, "This is not a good time. I'm getting this patient ready for surgery." And the unit clerk, knowing her well, just chuckled and said, "Oh, I think you'll want to see this person." So Kay got the patient ready for the procedure and closed the curtain on pre-op and walked into the waiting room to come face to face with the man who delivers the hospital linens. And he was a little uncomfortable, kind of, moving from one foot to the other, kind of looking down at the carpet. And then when he finally lifted his eyes and saw Kay, he held out this to her. No home is complete without a purple cow. It is a purple cow in a hospital gown and a hospital bracelet. And he said, "I know you're retiring today, but for all these years, I just loved hearing your voice first thing in the morning." The linen man would come in as Kay was getting patients ready. Often they wouldn't even see each other. But she would greet him, and for 14 years she was so accustomed to hearing her voice. I know something about that. Mary Magdalene is in the same place with Jesus. It's just his voice that she knows and she loves. And when Jesus says her name, Mary, everything changes for her. It's true that she did see him, but she didn't recognize him, thinking he was the gardener or someone. But once she hears her name, Mary, she runs all the way into central Jerusalem, and she knocks madly on the door where the disciples, all the guys, are locked behind closed doors, fearing for their life. She knocks madly on the door until they open, and she says, "I have seen the Lord." But it was hearing which led her to believing, hearing. And so today, I want us to hear 3 brief Easter lessons. The first is this: death is real. Death is real. And Jesus really dies. In fact, the creeds are very clear. Both the apostles and the Nicene Creed, they don't just stop, Jesus was crucified. They go on and say, and he died. Okay, and he died. When I was a boy in the Apostles' Creed, where I said he died and descended into hell, just to accentuate that point. Death is real. There's nothing in the Scriptures that says death is not real. It's real. And in the church, it's one place where we experience death head on. I mean, in the church, as you are dying and when you die, we are with you. And so it's never kind of, it's never, oh, that person really didn't die. No, you die, and you will die, and I will die. Death is real. Paul says in 1 Thessalonians, the 4th chapter, we do not grieve as those without hope. We don't grieve as those without hope. But we do grieve, don't we? The first time I met Sophie, sitting here on the front row, your cousin, 16-year-old cousin had died? We had 1,600 people here. 1,400 of them were students from Alamo Heights. Death is real. We do grieve. We do grieve. But not as those without hope. Why do we have hope? And that's lesson 2. Jesus rises from the dead. He rises from the dead. Dead men don't speak, and Jesus speaks to Mary. He says her name, as only he could say it. It's interesting that once he says Mary, once he says it, Mary Magdalene does exactly what we would probably try to do. She wanted to embrace him, right? What would you want to do? You'd want to embrace them. And he says, not yet. I haven't ascended to the Father. And this is a little cryptic, but I want you to realize that when Jesus rises from the dead, it's not life back to normal. Life will never be normal again after Jesus rises from the dead. It is not same old, same old. When Jesus rises from the dead, the new reality of God is ushered into the world. The new reality, the remaking of the world. It's the remaking. Don't hold on to me. It's not the same old. It's not the same. Which leads me to the third point, and that is we can live in the new reality now. We can live in the new reality. We were meant to live in this new reality, the new risen reality. You know, it's intriguing to me that some days before Jesus was crucified, he gave this rather down-to-earth lesson. He said, I am the good shepherd. My own know me, and I know my own. And they know the voice, and the sheep know the voice of the shepherd. And I call them by name and lead them out. Lead them out where? To the new reality, the new experience, the new kingdom with God. Not later, but now and later. Now and later. That is the promise to every Christian, all those who believe. We can live in a different way, on a different sphere of existence immediately. But we have to hear the Master's voice, don't we? What does Romans 10 say? It's one of my favorites. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing through the word of Christ. Christ's word animates our hearing. We can only hear because he initiates. Or in Colossians, where Paul says, let the word of God dwell in you richly. I believe that's the third chapter of Colossians. Or in 1 Thessalonians, the second chapter, the word of God is active in those who believe. How is it active? Always moving us to live into the new kingdom, into the new reality. Always. Now, how does that make any difference? Well, you know, last night I had an interesting discussion with my sister-in-law. I've known Anita, Kay's sister, longer than I've known Kay. I met Anita in 5th grade, at the summer of my 5th grade year, and she's the one that told me I had to meet her sister, whom I met in 6th grade. And my life has never been the same. When Anita comes, she comes every Holy Week and Easter to sing with the choir, and of course back at home, I'm getting orders in stereo, you know. But Nita asked me last night, she's a retired teacher, a special education teacher, and she says, you know, as we confront the darkness of this world, as we confront the darkness that seems to be pervading our country in places, how can Christians make any difference? And my response is, we must claim and live in the new reality. And what is the new reality? In the new reality, old people and children matter ultimately. Yeah. Old people and children matter ultimately. And so in the new reality, in the nursing homes, people don't while away their life alone, but we're there with them because they matter. whether they can recognize us or not, right? In the new reality, we care more about our children than we do about our rights. And our home and our schools are safe places. We care more. We care more about the people than we do. In the new reality, relationships take on sacred significance. Because you look at the other and you realize, oh my goodness, this is a unique, one-of-a-kind creation of God. I am going to give all my attention to you. In the new reality, we listen to music. In the new reality, art matters. In the new reality, beauty matters. In the new reality, the creation is given to us as a gift to care for. In the new reality, our entire vision and hearing changes. And if Christians will begin to live there instead of living in the flesh and in the world, there will be changes. Can you say amen to that? Amen. That's an Easter faith. That's an Easter faith. There's no putting it off. We're meant to live in the resurrection, in the new reality, starting today. Heck, in the new reality, you might just go by Target and buy a nurse a purple cow because her voice penetrated the doldrums of the mornings for you. That's the new reality. St. Paul asked this question, and I ask you to take this one question to heart. If the Spirit of God that raised Jesus from the dead resides in you, if the Spirit of God that actually raised Jesus from the dead resides in you, will He not bring new life to your mortal body? It's Romans 8. If the Spirit of God that raised Jesus from the dead dwells in you, will that Spirit not bring new life to your mortal body? Here Paul is saying, he's not talking about, okay, when you croak, finally you're going to be raised up with the Lord. He's not talking about that. He's talking about giving new life to your mortal body now. And do you want it or not? Do you want that life or not? I'm for one, I'm going to take that. And so that was Paul's Easter question for you, and mine is this. If you are too busy, if you're too busy to hear Christ calling your name above the clamor of the world that is strangling you, why do you think you will want to hear Him later on?